Familia, long-form content is making a comeback. In fact, it's never really left, but this year more than ever, creators are flocking to long-form content, ditching short-form, reels, social media content, and favoring long-form content like newsletters, blogs, podcasts, and YouTube videos. So if you're ready to get on the long-form content train, which I think all of us should have been on regardless, this is a video for you. I'm going to show you how to actually pick between all the different long-form mediums and which one is right for your business. Coming up. So a couple weeks ago, I did an entire episode just on what's happening in the creator economy. We talked about ConvertKit's State of the Creator Economy report and why so many creators are favoring long-form content this year. And I actually got this comment from Jim over on YouTube, and I thought it was so fascinating. He said, "I agree with you 1,000% about social media not being the only thing you rely on to make money online. I'm a blogger and I blog pretty much daily. Pinterest and YouTube can be a good way to also reach your audience, but social media takes more time to get going than blogging, at least in my opinion. It just never made sense to me to post a piece of content on some social media platform that gets buried in about 3 minutes or less. That is why I prefer blogging." Jim, you and I are about to be best friends. You are so on the money, my friend, and it's crazy because when I first started my business, the first business we started together, Chris and I, 2012, this was a known fact. Like most people, I had to convince them to use social media. They kind of like knew that, or at least they favored long form content. Then somewhere, around maybe like 2016, 2017, the social media craze like exploded. It had been crazy before, but like influencers came in the scene, creators came in the scene, and it was just all about social media. It was all about Instagram. It was all about, short form. And I don't hate social media. I actually like short form content. I think that it's actually helpful, but only if and when we are being very strategic with our time and resources. And my little pup Titus is making an appearance here, so I hope you don't mind. So anyway, it's one of those things where I agree with you so much, especially as a former social media manager. I figured this out pretty quickly in my business and working with other people's businesses. My first 2 years in business, I worked with like 70 brands. I went hog wild. I was young, I had a lot of energy, and I was ready to get in the trenches. But I quickly figured out that it was so much easier to create short form content via Reels and YouTube Shorts. Those were not available back then. I'm just talking about an example. Instagram captions, tweets, Facebook posts, so much easier when you actually started with long form content. And so I agree with Jim so much. It's one of those things where it does take more time to actually get something like social media off the ground. And sometimes it takes more effort too. I see a lot of our clients right now where they're just spending like an enormous amount getting their feed perfect, creating reels, making sure things are aesthetic on Instagram, and they have no time left over to do the thing that's actually going to allow clients to come to them. Because yes, there is a discovery component for social media, but we know how crowded it is. It's so much easier to get discovered via long form content that you SEO, that you search engine optimize, because then people are typing questions into Google, into YouTube, into Pinterest, and getting answers back. And so whether you want to do something like a podcast, a newsletter, a YouTube show, a blog, all of those platforms are SEOable. They're discoverable. They are something that you can create one time and it gets better over time instead of becoming less effective. When you post on social media, there is a lifespan to that post, right? Like you put all this energy and effort creating a reel, and then that reel lives on your page, right? Like, of course, it's going to live there long term, but people see it for maybe a day or two, a week, if it actually goes viral. And that's it. Like now it's in your feed, like now it goes into your archive and people aren't actually looking at it unless they find your profile and then scroll through a bunch of your content, which happens, but is not the norm. So why not put some of that energy, if not a lot of that energy, into creating more long form platforms or content on platforms that are discoverable, that people will find you 6, 7, 10, 15 years from now from that specific post. And guys, I found it even more fascinating when I replied to Jim and asked him, how long he'd been blogging. And he said, hey, I started blogging last September. I now have 230 published blog posts. My Moody Catholic blog receives anywhere from 80 to 100 visits per day. And my average position on Google for all my blog posts is 17. My blog has not been affected in any negative way so far by any algorithm updates from Google. I only have about 39 Pinterest spins, but I get about 10,000 views per month with 21 followers. I love seeing this, Jim. This is such an amazing start, especially because you've only been doing it for a couple months and you're already getting traffic. Guys, you know how hard it is to get 100 views on your social media content every single day? Like, that's not easy, especially because Jim, I know he's blogging every day right now because he's in the hustle, right? He's getting things going, but he could stop blogging and still get traffic day in and day out for years to come from those same posts. And I think that's the magic of setting up your long form content for massive growth with discovery platforms. And so this is something we teach all the time inside Content Calendar System. It's like kind of like that pillar principle that we teach inside there. And we massively talk about it inside of the Business Lounge through our courses like Podcast Like a Pro or YouTube Secrets or Blogging for Business. Those are all dedicated courses that'll help you launch long form platform content that is searchable. And so I highly, highly recommend, if you haven't joined those programs yet, please do. And I wanted to just touch on briefly on the creator like state of the economy report, because here's something really interesting. If we look at the stats right now on what creators created in 2023. So last year, what was the thing that they created the most that they're excited to create in the upcoming year? Number one was email newsletters with 58%. So that's our first content format for a long form, right? Emails. This is no surprise to me, right? We've talked about in the show before where email has, of all the content mediums, the highest ROI. It's insane. A recent study, and I've cited this many times, talks about how for every dollar that businesses are investing in email, they're getting an average return of $44. That's insane. I don't think that's typical, but well, I guess it is typical if it's average, right? But maybe not in every niche. However, I think that's actually really amazing. And we see that in our own business. So it's one of those things where I always give the benchmark when you're thinking about your milestone, especially if you're in the online space, right? Online business, your revenue milestones definitely equal what your marketing channels look like. And so email is one of those things that you can benchmark the heck out of it. You could say, and it's not that you could say, this is the average. You make $1 a month for every subscriber on your email list, $1 per month for every subscriber. So if you have 1,000 people on your email list, you should be making $1,000 a month. If you want to make 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000 a month, then you know where you need to be. What's important is that these people are qualified. It can't just be anyone on your email list. Of course, it needs to be an actual lead, someone who wants to do business or could do business with you, who's interested, right, in your subject matter. So it does not surprise me, 58% of creators are going to email. And we ourselves, like I've talked about our strategy too in our newsletter, we have doubled down on email this year, man. We are sending 2 to 3 emails every single week. And it's awesome to see the response to that because we have value packed our emails. People are opening, we've almost doubled our open rate. People are opening our emails more than ever before. We're getting the least unsubscribes we've ever gotten by increasing our frequency, which is crazy. I'll do a whole other episode about that, but it's really exciting to see people are into emails now, and newsletters are trending again, which is crazy. It used to be that we said, hey, never do a newsletter as your lead magnet. Now newsletters are trending. Paid newsletters are definitely a thing. And I think there's a lot of influence with where we're at in culture right now. This moment in time, people are wanting to consume less from a bunch of people, but they want to go deeper with the people that they really love and trust. And so I think that's why newsletters, independent journalism, right? Like a lot of this is driven by what we're seeing in culture and in our institutions and society in the world right now. Lots of distress in institutions, lots of distress, especially in the media. And so people are getting their information, their news, their education from sources they really trust, and they want to go deeper with those sources, which is awesome for small businesses like us. Number two, 51% wrote articles, blog posts, or books, which is so interesting. So blogs still being that number one long form content medium right behind emails. If I usually try to categorize these in the trifecta, I always tell you, hey, long form searchable content. The reason newsletters doesn't make my list, even though they're extremely important and I want you to incorporate that, it's kind of like a given in my mind. These are the platforms where you can get discovered. It's kind of hard to get discovered in a newsletter through SEO, but there are ways. You could publish it on your blog post and that kind of thing. But essentially you have a trifecta: blogs, podcast, or YouTube. Those are the three long form platforms that I recommend choosing one. You don't have to choose two or do all three of them. That's not necessary and takes a team to actually be able to do three. But one of those is so important for discoverability, right? Getting discovered, getting eyeballs, getting people to find you. Coupled that with email, all of them should be coupled with an email. You should be sending emails no matter what. You have a game-changing strategy. And it looks like a lot of creators are going with blogs and emails, which I think is awesome. Number three, educational courses. 30% started creating educational courses. Why? I think this is really driven by the fact that brand deals are not what they used to be. I think there's a lot of brands pulling back on their marketing spend, and so creators are having to shift gears. There's also a need from the market, again, to go deep, and so courses allow that space. And remember, we're talking about creators, not necessarily small business owners, so there's a difference here, but creators push the trends, and so they kind of just affect small business owners. And I want to make sure that you know how to apply it to your small business, because that's what this podcast and this channel is all about. So course is huge. If you're wanting to launch a course, this is a great time to do that. Just be very strategic with how you do it. There's a few things that have changed in the market too, and we'll talk about that later, but we do have an entire course on how to create profitable courses inside of the Business Lounge. So there's that. Next up is short form video. Steady drop, 23%. 23%. That's crazy. That's actually like almost 50% less than the year before. If you compare the 2023 State of the Creator Economy report with the 2024 one. I think that's fascinating. So tons of people leaving shorts or short form video specifically, whether it's shorts, reels, TikTok. Why? There's a ton of reasons for that. I'm not going to get into all of it, but I just want you to start knowing, okay, this is like what the trends are. Now, it's interesting to see. I don't know if this was part of the study, if they gave people the option of say, hey, I'm creating podcasts or I'm creating videos on YouTube. But I also have seen both things happen. A ton of people leave YouTube and a ton of people double down on YouTube. And I think that's also really interesting. So I would say if I were picking kind of for you and trying to help you figure out, navigate this process, you're wanting to do more long form, where should you start? I think the first place you start, if you already have an email list, is email. That's the number one place. It's making sure that you're sending emails consistently at least one time per week. We released an entire free workshop on what to send to your email subscribers here on the podcast. You should check that out. We'll have it linked below. But basically, it's a TBL, a Business Lounge workshop that we did with our paid members. We're making that available for you guys. Take tons of notes. That's going to be an amazing get started guide for how do you actually send emails that people love and are excited about. But I wouldn't say just stop there. And the reason for that is we want that flow of traffic. We want those eyeballs. We want people showing up to our website, arriving at our content, consuming it, finding how they can work with us and doing business with us, right? We are always talking on this podcast about profitability, about how do you look at marketing through the lens of we're doing this as a vehicle of serving more people, of helping people. And we do that through revenue. We do that through that exchange of value of getting people to actually pay you for what you do. So often we're stuck in this like notion that we're just going to do marketing because it's fun and cute. It's like, no. This year, ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody has time in this economy to be playing around with content that's cute. We're going to create content that's effective. We're going to create content with a purpose. We're going to create content that serves people, and we're going to create content that drives them to actually become clients and customers with a ton of integrity. It's why we're always talking about profitability over popularity, right? We're going to choose to create content that's intentional and that makes us money versus content that just serves our ego and gets us a bunch of followers, a bunch of engagement, a bunch of likes, and gives us that dopamine hit so we feel accomplished. And it's like, you accomplished nothing. You accomplish nothing. If your content does not make you money, it is just an expensive hobby. Period. End of story. And guys, I'm sorry. I'm kind of in the era of just telling it like it is. I kind of always been this way, but now I'm just, I don't know. I don't know. I turned 34. Maybe it's the hormones. Maybe there's just like 12 years under my belt and I just don't have time to not tell you what's going to work. So we're just going to be super transparent and honest. I'm telling you like it is with a lot of love. All right. So let's talk about, as we shift gears here, which of these is going to work best for your business? I get this question all the time. And the reality is that there is no one size fits all for every business. There's two key things that I want you to think about. Number one, what medium do you love doing? So do you love creating blogs? Like, do you love writing? Does writing come naturally to you? My husband, Chris, like he's a master writer. He is so good at writing. He can just pump out a blog in 20 minutes. It takes me 3 hours to write a blog sometimes. Like it just does. That's just reality. Like I am not a good writer. It's not my medium. But he loves writing and he's really good at it. It took him a long time to get really, comfortable with video. He does it because he's good at it, and it actually is one of the best mediums, at least in YouTube, to get discovered for searchability, but it's not necessarily his preferred medium. And so one of the things I want you to think about is, what do you like? Because when you like something, you're more likely to stay consistent with it. I love video. I've always loved video. My second favorite medium is audio. I love audio. There's just something special about connecting, and being in someone's ear. And those are the two mediums that I will stick to. But if you don't like, writing, but you like audio, boom, podcast might make sense for you. If you like being on video, but you don't like writing, then YouTube might be a really good place for you. Here's the thing though, and this is really important. It also has to match where your audience hangs out. Now, thankfully, most people, right, hang out on Google and most people search YouTube. And even if your audience doesn't explicitly show up on a platform, it is important to do some research around that and make sure that you are aware, hey, are my people hanging out on YouTube or do they listen to podcasts? Do they read articles and blogs, or do they prefer to see, have that visual interaction on video? And so I would ask your audience, I would poll them on Instagram, I would poll them on YouTube, whatever platform you have, even your newsletter, ask them where they consume content. For us, we know we serve a ton of moms, and a lot of our mamas are really busy, right? So they'll listen to podcasts over necessarily watching YouTube videos. But if they are watching YouTube videos, it's usually in the background. So they're not necessarily watching, they're listening. And that's actually super helpful for me to know. It's why we put an emphasis on the podcast in addition to YouTube. They're not necessarily reading blogs as much, but I still love having a blog on our website. And I think that's another really important point, is that if you're going to create YouTube videos, you might as well also turn that video into a blog for your website so that you can SEO on two separate channels. So you're getting the SEO from Google and you're getting the SEO from YouTube. Is it necessary? It's not necessary. But is it amazing to grow on your own platform? Absolutely. So it's one of those things where, yes, I think there's no perfect system, but if you are going to pick a long form platform, this year especially, I would definitely highly recommend going with, number one, what you can stick to, number two, where your audience hangs out. And if those two can collide, that's the sweet spot. And then definitely think, whether you go with podcast or whether you go with YouTube, also putting that on your blog, because why not, right? You get leverage for the same content you created one time on different platforms, and it's free traffic, which is amazing, leads to more leads and to more sales. All right, fam, I threw a lot at you today, but I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you feel more confident, more excited. Leave me questions in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed it. I love you. Un beso. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. And hey, if you're wondering how you can work with us to take your content marketing or your business to the next level, here are 3 ways that you can get started. Number 1, make sure to download our Success Path. It's completely free and it'll give you the 6 stages of online business success. From validating your business all the way through scale, we're going to give you a detailed overview of what particular strategies you need to be deploying, but also, just as importantly, what areas you should leave for the next stage, you should not be worrying about. Now, it's not a comprehensive list, but it definitely is going to get you started on the right track. Number 2, come over to Content Calendar System 2.0 and check it out. Not only is it our most popular product, it's going to give you everything that you need to know about content creation that's efficient and will save you a ridiculous amount of time from the lens of profitability, because we don't want to just create content for the sake of creating content. We want to do it for a purpose and we want to get results. Number 3, come join us inside the Business Lounge. It's our premier signature program where I teach my very best work around marketing in general. From developing your business idea to crafting amazing emails and blogs, podcasts and video, social media content, as well as designing funnels and creating webinars and selling via Facebook ads. All of that training is jam-packed inside the Business Lounge. Not just that, but you're also going to get monthly coaching calls with me and my co-pilot, Chris, where you get to ask us questions, we review your sales strategies and your sales funnels, and we give you feedback in real time. You're also going to have access to our private forum, where you can connect with thousands of other online entrepreneurs who are just where you're at right now. And you're going to be able to feel that sense of community and get feedback from those people in real time as well. All the information will be linked in the description box below, and I will see you in the next episode. Un beso. Bye for now.